Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and Happy New Year. I know it has been far too long since I've uploaded anything. 2024 was a huge year for me as I started my first year in college. I'm currently majoring in film and television, and because of that, it's been a lot harder for me to make videos, so thank you so much for sticking with me through that time. But now I'm back, and there seems to be a bright, promising year ahead in the world of cinema, so I thought it would be fun to count down some of my most anticipated films of 2025. Now, the hardest part of making an anticipated movies of the year list is that things can always change. For all we know, these films could get delayed, some are rumored for 2025, there could be films that get announced or slated to release sometime this year last minute, and of course, indie films could get acquired and released to the public sometime this year. Like the ones at Sundance, which I'm actually going to, so maybe you can expect a video on that in the future, we'll see. Either way, this list is based off what films are currently set to release this year here in the US. So with all that out of the way, let's just get right into it, starting with Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I have so much fun watching the films from this franchise. And even though I did not enjoy The Minion, I am a huge fan of Gareth Edwards. He's confirmed to be directing this film, and between Godzilla 2014 and Rogue One, the guy knows how to bring a fresh spark of creativity to a well-known franchise. And David Cope, the writer of the original Jurassic Park, is set to return for this film. From what we know of it so far, it seems to be a survival thriller focusing on a new lineup of characters set 5 years after the last movie. And while not much is known other than that, I'm excited to see where they go with this one. So I think it goes without saying the Looney Tunes have had the worst of luck over at Warner Brothers these last few years, which makes it all the more miraculous that we're getting the first fully animated Looney Tunes movie this year. And what's even better is that it's getting a theatrical release. Now, I've been a mega fan of the Looney Tunes my whole life. I own most of the original cartoons on DVD. I love the Looney Tunes show from 2011. I grew up watching Space Jam on repeat and even got my DVD of that film signed by Billy West, the voice of Bugs in that movie, last year. So all that said, it should be no surprise I'll be there day one for this film. And based on the trailer they already released, it looks like it could be the funniest film of the year. It even screened early last year to huge critical praise. I know there's also some word flying around that if this movie is successful at the box office, Warner Brothers might become more confident in releasing some of their shelved Looney Tunes films, like Bye Bye Bunny or Coyote vs. Acme, which would be amazing, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen right now, considering the marketing for this film has practically been non-existent despite coming out next month on the 28th. But the optimist in me would love to see a 2D animated film like this, let alone one that strives to be faithful to a classic source material like Looney Tunes. To see a film like that blow up at the box office would be a dream come true, so crossing my fingers right now that it is. Maybe it will be and we'll see a new wave of Looney Tunes films. Maybe it won't be. We'll see. Hopefully it is.
7, 6, 11, 5, 4...
I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen 28 Days Later. With that said, holy... The trailer for 28 Years Later got me too hyped for words. If you have not seen the trailer for this film yet, I highly recommend you seek it out. It's amazing. It needs to be seen to be believed because it genuinely had me on edge. The director of the original film, Danny Boyle, is set to return for this film, and the cast they assembled, from returning stars like Cillian Murphy to new characters played by Aaron Taylor-Johnson, is just getting me more and more excited to see what's in store with this one, and the apparent trilogy it's going to kickstart. Marvel has been in a rough spot for me as of late, but Fantastic Four looks like it could be something unlike any MCU film we've gotten, and for that reason, I'm excited to see what they've got going on here. So far, this film seems to be going for a 60s futuristic aesthetic, similar to the one seen in Disney World's Tomorrowland or The Incredibles, which just sounds awesome in theory. But also no surprise considering the director of WandaVision, Matt Shakman, is behind this, and that show just had so much reference for films and the aesthetics of past decades, the media that came out of them. So that's going to be cool to see how he brings that over to this film. Michael Giacchino also released a theme for the movie, which sounds amazing. It's kind of funny that people have said The Incredibles was the only good Fantastic Four movie, and now, between Giacchino's involvement in the 60s aesthetic, it seems like they're making just that. But either way, I'm really intrigued to see what's in store with this one. It's easily my most anticipated Marvel project of the whole year.
And I am burdened with glorious purpose.
Well, it's about time an original film showed up on the list. Life of Chuck stars Tom Hiddleston as a story told in reverse, showing how a man lived his life. Mike Flanagan is directing this one. I love his work. The film also got some great buzz at the Toronto Film Festival last year, and this is one of those films where the premise and director combination is more than enough to sell me on this one. Neon has been making a name for themselves in horror recently. In fact, there's 2 more horror films from them coming up later on the list. But first off, there's Presence. This premiered at Sundance last year. Steven Soderbergh, the director of Ocean's 11, is behind it, and it supposedly tells a haunted house story from the POV of the entity haunting this family. At least that's what I've heard some sources say. I've been keeping up with the trailers for this one, and so far it looks super creepy. I'm a total sucker for haunted house movies and indie horror in general, so I'm hoping this isn't just going to be a limited release. Like most of Neon's films, they don't play a lot in theaters near me for some reason, because this looks like the kind of film that's so atmospheric, that leans completely into the horror genre. It's one of those horror movies I want to experience more of in a theater, so hopefully it does get a huge release at some point. If you saw my Best of 2023 video, you might remember Past Lives made the top 5 on it. That film marked the directorial debut of Celine Song, so it shouldn't be a surprise I'm excited for her next film, Materialist. This one stars Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal, and focuses on a matchmaker falling into a love triangle. Past Lives was one of those films that stayed with me for a long time, and that was just a directorial debut. She made a 10 out of 10 movie on the first try, so I'm beyond excited to see where Song's directing career goes from there.
We couldn't get Michael A. Jordan, so we got Michael B. Jordan?
Sinners is a vampire thriller from Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. These two have made some great films together with Black Panther, Creed, and the trailer for this film showed nothing but promise. Vampire movies have kind of been making a comeback with Renfield and Nosferatu, so I think it'll be cool to see what Coogler can bring to the subgenre.
The monkey!
Hey look, the monkey from Toy Story 3 is getting his own spin-off movie. How great! He gave me so many nightmares as a kid. The Monkey is directed by Osgood Perkins. He directed Longlegs last year, and spoilers for my upcoming Best of 2024 list, but Longlegs was one of my favorite horror films in recent memory, and one of my favorite movies of last year. Unlike Longlegs though, this film seems to be going in a more comedic direction, based off the trailer and the poster tagline, which just reads, "Everybody dies, and that's effed up." Honestly, might be the best tagline of all time. I love horror comedies, so I'm all here for that. And on top of this being an adaptation of a Stephen King story, James Wan, the creator of The Conjuring and a plethora of horror films, is attached as producer. So we basically have a holy trinity of horror storytellers going on here. So I can't wait to see what this brings.
Whoa, whoa. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
Paul Thomas Anderson's new film releases this year, and currently very little is known about it. So unfortunately, I can't say much about this one at the moment. However, I love Paul Thomas Anderson, so any film with his name attached will immediately get me interested.
But my most dangerous case yet is about to be revealed.
I'm a massive fan of the Knives Out franchise. The first film is one of my all-time favorites, and I got to see the second film, Glass Onion, early at the Montclair Film Festival back in 2022. On top of that, Daniel Craig is one of my favorite actors, so yeah, obviously I'm hyped for the third installment. A few images and the cast have already been revealed for the film, and on top of the description saying it'll be Benoit Blanc's most dangerous case yet, there's rumors of this one being a prequel, which could potentially bring something fresh and new to the franchise. Hopefully this one gets some kind of a theatrical release, because not only has Craig been pushing for one, but I just feel like the Knives Out films are way better when you're experiencing them with a large crowd. But even if it does just get plopped on Netflix, I will watch it the moment I can. So as far as I know, Chris Stuckmann's directorial debut, Shelby Oaks, is releasing this year. Chris himself said that back in July, so I'm hoping Neon does announce a release date soon. Chris Stuckmann has been a huge influence on my YouTube channel, how I format my reviews and analyze movies, and for that reason, I'm very excited to see his first feature film. The premise for this movie surrounding paranormal investigators is just right up my alley, and the fact that Mike Flanagan is an executive producer not only gets me more hyped, but I find it amazing Chris finally managed to make a movie, and to see it grow this big, getting a release by Neon, having Flanagan as executive producer. As someone aspiring to be a filmmaker, it's just remarkable to see. So yeah, I am more than excited to see Shelby Oaks whenever it releases.
Dr. Frankenstein.
No, it's pronounced Frankenstein.
So rumor has it Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is releasing on Netflix this year. I'm a massive Del Toro fan. I loved Shape of Water, and his take on Pinocchio was one of my favorite movies of 2022. So I have no doubt his take on the Frankenstein story will be well worth the watch. So far, some set photos for the film have dropped, and it looks beautiful so far. And between Mia Goth and Oscar Isaac, I love the cast he's assembled for this one. It'll be very cool to see what information on this one pops up as we get closer to release.
I said if you feel it!
Edgar Wright is one of my favorite directors. Glenn Powell has quickly become one of my favorite actors working today. So when I hear they're making a film together, you do the math. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know much about the original Running Man movie. I'm going to have to watch it before this comes out. But from what I do know about that film and Wright's direction, I have no doubt in my mind this will be a complete blast to watch from beginning to end. And I can't wait to see what insane twist he brings to this remake. Yes, I'm dead serious. Wallace and Grommet is in the top 6. Now, I'm actually recording this the day this movie drops on Netflix here in the US, so by the time you watch this video, it'll already be out. It has been out already in the UK, but I decided to leave it in just because I need to talk about this one. Wallace and Gromit have shaped my love of animation and humor since a young age. Wrong Trousers, Curse of the Were-Rabbit, A Grand Day Out, Close Shave, this franchise means a lot to me personally. So I'm beyond thrilled to see it return, and it's already gotten such massive acclaim from early screenings. Not to mention, the fact this movie's selling point is on the rematch of the century. Gromit versus Feathers McGraw, which is more than enough to get a die-hard Wallace and Gromit fan like me fully on board. The moment I heard this one was from the director of Top Gun Maverick, I was sold. There's been a lot flying around about Joseph Kosinski's Formula One movie, how they've been shooting it since 2023, the rumors of a massive $300 million budget. But again, this is from the man who made Top Gun Maverick, one of the best movies of the decade so far in my opinion. And the fact that it has Brad Pitt attached and is all about racing, look, I don't know what else there is to say. I'm sold. Bring it on. If you've been with me for a while, you know I'm a massive fan of Mission Impossible. It's one of my favorite franchises ever. And whenever Tom Cruise makes a new action film, I'm always going to be there day one. The last film which this movie acts as a part 2 for was one of my favorite movies of 2023. And I'm hyped to see how that story and maybe the franchise as a whole ends. So far they're marketing this as a final installment, even though Tom himself wants to do more. When your film features a real-life submarine stunt and a $400 million budget, I guess that's what you have to do to keep the hype going. And for me so far, it's working. I am already seeded for this film. I am counting down the days to Mission Impossible 8. Bong Joon-ho's anticipated return after his monumental Best Picture, Palme d'Or winning movie Parasite was always going to be one of my most anticipated and one of the most talked about films of the year. Parasite is one of the best movies I've ever seen, period. And Robert Pattinson has just been making one hell of a name for himself as of late. So after all the delays this film has experienced, I'm hoping 2025 will finally be the year we see this thing. This December marks the return of the Avatar franchise. That is, of course, unless James Cameron pulls a fast one and makes us wait another 11 years for it. But production seems to be going smoothly, so maybe we won't have to wait excruciatingly long for it like we did with Avatar 2. Hopefully. Over the last few years, I've gone from someone who wasn't a fan of the original film to a hardcore Avatar fan, and I can't get enough of James Cameron. The moment this hits theaters, I'm going to the biggest IMAX screen I can find and watching it in 3D. Truth be told, for a while, Avatar 3 was my most anticipated film of 2025, until a certain trailer dropped. Yeah, if you've seen all the marketing for this one, then you probably get why this is number 1. For me, James Gunn is one of my favorite directors working today, and for a while he's been building up to the big reset of the DC universe, starting with the one and only Creature Commandos, and then Superman. Of course, if you're going to win back the fans of DC after the chaotic and muddled DCEU, Superman is the best place to start. And so far, the trailer, the music, David Corenswet's casting, everything they dropped for this film makes it seem like it's going to embody the message of hope and awe Superman and the idea of superheroes as a whole are supposed to represent, and I am living for it so far. Yes, it's sad Henry Cavill's gone, but if we're going to start fresh, then I think they're heading in a more than right direction. This is the perfect direction to go, and Gunn seems to understand the source material and what the fans want to see. So yeah, I'll be counting down the days to Superman with great anticipation. So those were my most anticipated films of 2025. Feel free to leave your own anticipated movies of the year in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. As always, if you like this big video celebrating film and you want to see more, my best films of 2024 countdown will be out soon. So if you want to see that video and many more like it, be sure to subscribe to the channel. That really helps me out. Remember to like the video and ring the notification bell to be notified for any upcoming reviews.